Hey, this is Ryan from Competitive Cyclist, and today we're going to change the fluid in the lowers on a 2008 Fox Talus RLC. While we're at it, we're going to replace the seals and foam wipers. We've taken the liberty to go ahead and prep it for the disassembly. We've had it apart, we've actually drained the fluid out, but we've also accessed the push rods on both legs by removing the 10mm nuts and associated rebound adjustment hardware on the right side. All you're going to need is a 10mm open-end wrench to get those nuts off, and then we're ready to remove the lowers. What you can expect when you pull the lowers down off of the upper tubes, there should be about 150 to 170 milliliters of fluid in the right leg and a few milliliters, maybe 10 or 15 in the left leg here, that are going to come out of the holes in the bottom of the lowers. So you see we've got a catch basin with that's marked waste oil only, so we can catch all the oil that will come out and we can recycle that at a later time. But once the nuts are off, you should be able to just force the lowers off of the upper tubes, and then we're ready to wipe it out and pull the seals and foam rings out and replace those at this time. Okay, now that we've got the lower legs off, what we want to do is just let these hang and let any excess oil drip down into our catch basin. I'm going to take a clean rag and I'm going to wipe off the upper tubes, just to make sure that there's no grit on those when we go to reassemble with our new seals. Okay, so we'll leave that alone for a few minutes, and we're going to go ahead and take the seal and the foam ring out of the lower tube section. We've done one already to speed things up. We'll do the second one now. All you need to do this is a small common screwdriver with about a 3/16 inch wide head. There are some small slots under the top lip of this seal, and we're just going to slide that screwdriver in there and just start to lever it up. It should come out pretty easily, and we're going to try not to mess up the finish here. Basically, once you pull the seal out, then you have access to the foam ring, and at that point we can do a quick visual inspection of the lower tubes, including the bushings. We can look for wear and see if everything is in order there, or do we need to replace the bushings before we move on and put the fork back together. Okay, now that we've got our wipers and seals out, I'm going to take this clean rag and I'm just going to insert it down into the lower leg bore. We're going to try to wipe out any excess oil, old contaminated oil, or dirt particles that might be stuck down in there if there was some infiltration through the top seal. I'm going to take a little piece of PVC here and just kind of push that rag down in there like we're loading a cannon or something. Ensure that the rag goes down to the bottom so we get that wiped out. We've made a push rod with a small piece of steel and just wrapped it in tape so that it wouldn't scratch anything on the inside, especially the bushings. And we're just going to push that rag right back up out. And we should have a clean bore at this point. We can look back down in there and make sure that there isn't dirt in there. And if we're sure that it's clean, we can go ahead and proceed with putting back in the new wipers and the new seals and then new fluid and put the fork back together and go ride. Okay, to lubricate the foam ring that's going to go in under the external wiper, we're just going to use this little bubble pack of float fluid. Fox sends this with an air can replacement for your rear shock. Typically send this with a seal replacement kit. It's just like 5mm of their float fluid. It's designed specifically for this foam ring. So the foam ring is clean and dry. I'm using the bottom of a cut-off water bottle, and we're just going to kind of squirt out some float fluid and try to work it into the foam. It's pretty viscous, so you have to work at it a little bit, but that's what holds it in place. And that viscous float fluid helps keep that upper bushing lubricated. So the foam ring kind of holds the fluid and releases it as it needs to lubricate that bushing and keep your Fox shock operating nice and smoothly. So we'll kind of let that soak in. Lay this other one on there and just kind of continue to squeeze out the fluid and let it work in there. Okay, so now that we've got float fluid saturating the foam rings. You can see they're an even color of blue there. We're ready to put the foam rings back into the bore and then install the wipers right on top of them. So we'll take one foam ring at a time, slide it in place, make sure that it sits on the little ledge in there. Might as well go ahead and get started with the wiper, and we'll just push the seal down in. Most of the time you can get the seal in with just your fingers and your thumb. Get that pushed right down in place, and that's ready to go. We'll move on to the next. Once we get these seals in, then we're ready to reinstall the lower assembly back on the upper crown assembly. Okay, when you're reinstalling the lowers, make sure that before you do that, that you get some float fluid on the bottom end of the upper tubes here, so you lubricate that seal a little bit before you pull the lowers on. We're going to slide those mostly into place, making sure that we can access the hole in the bottom of the lowers so we can put the new fluid, the 7-weight Fox fluid, down in the lowers and refill these legs to specs. If the plungers are sticking out, we're just going to pull that lower leg down a little bit to make sure that we've got that hole, and that hole is the access where we're going to put in our 7-weight Fox fluid. So we're ready to put the fluid in the lowers. Obviously, Fox recommends 7-weight Fox fluid for the lowers, their hydraulic fluid, and Fox float fluid for those wipers and foam rings that we discussed earlier, and some of the O-rings inside the air chamber, but we're not getting into that today. But all we have left to do basically is put the prescribed volume of fluid inside the lower legs. We're going to go ahead and put the smaller volume inside the left leg, or the brake side of the fork, and we're just going to access the bottom of the fork leg via the hole for the push rod. We've got a syringe here with our markings, and we're just going to insert this little tube in there, direct the flow. We're going to wait on the 10 cc's in this case of Fox fluid to drain out. Your fork may be different. You need to consult your Fox owner's manual to determine what volume of fluid goes in each leg before you get ready to do your service. So now that we've got fresh fluid in both legs, we're ready to slide the lower assembly back down in place so that both push rods from the upper assembly poke through the holes in the bottom of the lower legs. And at this point, we can reinstall the hardware that came off the fork when we took it apart. The brake side, or the left side, gets an aluminum washer. Of course, unless it didn't come with one, but it should have an aluminum washer. In the case of this Talus, it did. And then when we ordered our new Fox seal and wiper kit, we got brand new plastic crush washers. Okay, the crush washer is important. It's important to put a new one on there every time you take this little alloy nut off, so that it seals the bottom of the fork leg, so that you don't lose any of the fluid that you just put in. So we'll put that in place, and then that just screws onto the push rod. And the push rod nut, we'll just use our 10mm open-end wrench, and we're just going to screw that down in a second to the Fox specs that we'll find in our owner's manual. And once we get both of these screwed together, this can't come off of this. We can put it back on our bike, and we are ready to ride. This Fox fork should feel good as new. It'll be smooth and buttery. We can't wait to get out on the trail.